when he actually came on the staff full-time for the first time. Probably about 16 years of age. The role I was in at Spurs at the time with the development squad, worked closely with the academy. I managed to get down and work with the academy boys, and in particular with Harry, who really enjoyed finishing sessions. And Harry was always asking, can we have a session, can we do some more finishing? Always very competitive, wanting to improve himself, and I think he still has that attitude even today. He was always striving to improve himself, to get better, and I think today we see all that coming to fruition in his consistency and performance, and the way that he takes chances regularly. Give Harry a chance and he put the ball in the back of the net.
When I was a first year scholar, I used to play down for the under-16s. I was smaller than I am now and that, so I played down for game time, and then obviously that's where I first come across H and played with him really. I think you could tell he's a gifted footballer, probably not the physique and what he shows today, and obviously over the last 7-8 years where he's been unbelievable for club and country. Lovely footballer and a great finisher off both feet. I think that was quite evident early on. I think we had a good group for that at Spurs when we were younger, where we'd sort of have like a 10-minute rule to work on stuff after training, and you know, we'd always make the most of them times, and yeah, he'd be finishing and scoring the majority.
Harry, in the way that he plays, dropping into deeper positions, becoming a player who can assist and has done many times, just adapting your game to arrive in goal scoring positions at the right time, honing your techniques, which he's done.
What were the weaknesses in his game during those early days?
The one thing was he didn't have electric pace, but he certainly worked it out that it wasn't going to be about his pace. I think because he worked out, you know, the timings of runs, the positions to take up. Physically he developed. He was a good size and he became a real specimen in terms of his physicality.
Is he the best finisher that you've ever worked with?
Yes, I have to say, in terms of the way he developed himself and how clinical he is and consistent he is in taking of chances off of both sides, right and left, aerially, really developed great technique, his heading ability, so he could score all types of goals. And I always think that is the hallmark of a great striker. With Harry's longevity and consistency over so many years now, yes, I do believe he's the best number 9 in the world.
Breaking news in Leyton Orient have signed the young Tottenham striker Harry Kane on loan. The 17-year-old is an England under-19 international but hasn't made his senior debut.
Yeah, it came about really because of our relationship that we developed with Spurs and their backroom staff, in particular Tim Sherwood and his team. Our two training grounds, whilst I was at Leyton Orient and Spurs' old training ground, very close together. Tim was very keen to get one or two of his younger players out into first team football, of which Harry fell into that category, albeit he was only 17 at the time. I'd watched him once or twice in one or two games that were played at the training ground, so I was very happy to take him. He still had enough quality and intelligence to go out and deliver in a first division game.
You both went out on loan to Leyton Orient. What was that experience like for him and for you?
I think just men's football, I think, is so different to playing reserves or the under-21s, and I think it comes to a stage where I think we're both excited to go out, and Harry, being Harry, would always have believed that he'll go out, score goals and probably go back and play at Spurs. You know, if it wasn't his day, it wasn't his day, and he'd just get on with it and go again. And I think he always backed himself, and that's probably been a massive thing for him over the years.
He wanted to work, he wanted to improve, he wanted to learn, hence that he was prepared to go from the Premier League, from a Premier League club to a League One club, to get some experience.
Scott McGleish.
How does it make you feel that you were the one that he came on to replace?
Harry had just turned up, to be fair, on loan from Tottenham, and first impression was humble young kid who just wants to learn, not what you used to say, a typical big-time Charlie coming from the Prem. We got to the pitch and Spotlands was renowned for being one of the worst, and like Harry literally walked on and went, "What's this?" And we went, "Oh yeah, welcome to League One."
Scott McGleish and I think Alex Ravel, probably the other strikers at Orient at the time, who had probably played a hell of a lot of games. So yeah, I think definitely after a session and during finishing drills, you definitely see him with them boys and pluck in their minds.
Talk to us about that run in the FA Cup and what happened after that.
So we played Swansea and Norwich, and then we were in the 5th round, and the chairman said to us, look, if you get a big club, take it to Vegas. We got Arsenal. We played the game, we're 1-0 down, and the 90th minute, John Zahui, he's drilled one bottom corner, and we drew 1-1. So at the end of the game, we're all aeroplanes to the chairman up in the stands. Go to Arsenal, we lose 5-0. Of course we do. Bentner gets hat-trick. We lose 5-0. Wouldn't say we were very much in the game. Again, I start, so I'm happy I'm starting. Harry comes on for me in that again. But we end up going to Vegas. The chairman was true to his word. By the time we got to Vegas, it's sort of the last week in June, so pretty much ready to go back to pre-season training. To my surprise, to be fair, Harry and Tom Carroll still come to Vegas with us. They didn't have the kind of experience at Vegas that I had being young boys, but I was told that the golf courses were very good. They played a lot of golf, the two of them, nice and early, and they mingled in with the boys and they mixed around when they could, but being at 18 in Vegas, there's a little bit limited they could do compared to what us older pros could do, shall we say.
As a fellow striker, did you speak to Harry about the art of scoring goals? And did he ever try and pick your brain at all?
That was the one thing that probably stood out the most for me with Harry. He was very much learning from everybody he could. Myself, Alex Ravel, John Zahui, Ryan Jarvis. We were all the strikers when he come in. With Harry, he could obviously, back then you can see it now, he drops in. He didn't always play just up front with us. He kind of played the 10 role as well. Harry was trying to learn from everybody. He'd ask questions, he'd stay behind with extras and just work on his game. It was never like, oh, Scott, should I do this? He was just watching other people, trying to develop his own style, but continually out on the training field, just trying to get better and better and better.
To say that, did he have huge potential? Yes, he did. Was he going to make a living in the game? Yes, he was. What level he was going to achieve at a decent level, top of the Premier League and international level. At that stage, I couldn't tell you whether he was going to achieve that.
Tom Carroll or Harry Kane, who's going to be playing for England the most times, I would have probably have said Tom Carroll. Harry was very 17, quite slight. You look at him now, he's filled out. Very, very comfortable player on the ball. I do think he's learnt that through the loan spells.
Do you remember the feedback that you gave Tim Sherwood?
Tim was always very keen for them to get minutes on the pitch because he knew how valuable that was to the individual players. He would talk to me about Harry, what he's got. He would try to give me as much information as he possibly could, so I would have that and have that knowledge. And of course, he or one of his staff would come and watch the games anyway. I would have kept him longer, but of course Tim wanted him to experience higher level football, championship football, which was his next move. He just constantly wanted to get better, constantly wanted to learn, get greater understanding. He wanted to move his career forward. To have been a part of that and to be the manager that gave him that debut, yeah, very proud to have done that.
Millwall have agreed loan moves for two young Tottenham players, striker Harry Kane and midfielder Ryan Mason, who will join the club once the window opens in January.
We'd seen him work through the youth team at Spurs when we were at Millwall there, and had good connections at the time with John McDermott, people like that working with him through the youth. So he was always a very talented goal scorer through the youth team. He'd had an earlier loan, probably his last year as a youth player at Leyton Orient, maybe played 7 or 8 games, something like that there, you know. So we'd seen him come through and then make his way into senior football.
Some fans at the time likened him to another Millwall favourite in Teddy Sheringham. Did you see any similarities? Yeah,
maybe his touch and his awareness was good. Probably different stages of their career, though. Say for Sheringham, you know, developed physically very well. Harry was very young at the time when he came to Millwall and had to adapt and find different ways to get himself into the game. He could get in the pocket on the left-hand side, and very good then at receiving the ball on his right foot and being able to play and shoot forward. He had a fantastic ability to finish, you know. He's a real natural finisher off either foot with his head. He could shift the ball and find the bottom corner very easily. It worked out he needed to be better in the air. Didn't have the body strength then that he's got now, and just his timing then and being able to draw a foul. He picked those things up very quickly, and they can get you into the game. You know, they can get you on the ball, they can get you chances, and you know, he worked that side of it out very quickly.
He's from my neck of the woods. He's very local to me, some mutual friends. And he was just someone who wanted to play football non-stop, just wanted to practice, learn, score goals. And we clicked straight away, we got on very well. He was just a very, very down-to-earth, quiet, relaxed, genuine boy. We did become roommates. I used to get Harry to make the teas. We've both got a sweet tooth, so we look forward to getting our sweets and chocolate to get through the night. And he loved quiz shows. And he used to love it, loved watching them and quizzing himself, quizzing me, and who could get further. But he's just that type of guy.
Are there any games in particular that really stand out in terms of his contribution?
Probably maybe Doncaster away, I think, at that time, where he's come inside and hit it, and I thought, oh no, don't shoot from that far away. It's 35 yards out, and he's put it in. So there was a little spell probably towards the end there, Doncaster, Portsmouth away, where he got key goals, and his form at the Den as well was always fantastic.
He was someone that you couldn't get in from the training pitch. He'd always stay out and do extras and do finishing, and you used to look at the way he'd strike a ball and finish in training, and he just had something a little bit more than most. You could play up to him, he'd hold it up, and then his timing of his runs in behind. There's him and Daniel Sturridge, who I played with in my England youth days, and they're the two strikers that really stand out. I've played with many good strikers that I could sit here and name, but they're the two strikers that stand out to me, that when I'd get the ball, they've not made their run or movement too early or too late. It was inch perfect. So he would be going back. We didn't know if he'd go back out alone or he'd get his chance at Spurs. And the question was posed from one of us, how far do you think he would go? What do you think he can do in his career? And I think it got higher and higher as the season went on. But at this stage, we both agreed that we thought he'd be a Premier League footballer. How many games and as what club he'd play for, we wasn't sure. And we both suggested and agreed that he'd a good chance of representing England. And the fact he's done that, I wouldn't say surprised me, but I certainly wouldn't have said guaranteed he's going to do that or has a massive chance. But I thought he'd play Premier League and I thought he'd represent England. We stayed in touch quite a lot, and he'd left Millwall and went back to Spurs. I don't know if he'd had a loan move in between this, but I noticed a difference in him. I noticed a physical difference. That next year or two, he looked leaner, he looked stronger, he looked more powerful. You could see it in his face, and he actually said to me that Spurs had worked with him, got hold of him, and obviously they'd started to see the potential that he did have.
It would be hard for any of us to predict that he would go on and be England captain and record goal scorer, definitely. The appetite he had to work, the ability to improve all the time, and with, coming through the youth, he had a lot of natural ability as well. He was always going to do wherever he got the opportunity, but actually his chances passed then. He took them with both hands, and congratulations to him for doing that.
And you've married a H. Kane.
Yeah, it's a funny story. So my wife obviously is a Kane, as you say, and they're a big family. So Holly's dad is a Kane and he's Irish. So I have him telling me a lot that Harry is Irish as well. That he chose England, but look, that's another story. But they're a big football family as well, and Holly knew Harry and his girlfriend growing up, and it's a small world. So when Holly would come to the games and watch us at Millwall, they'd chat after and talk, and it's quite funny. We actually bought the boys, our two boys, England kits this year. Her dad joked about getting number 9 Kane on the back. But, we didn't quite get round to it. I was going to go for number 4, my number, and right, but we left names off the back in the end.
A deadline day signing for Norwich City. They've announced the arrival of striker Harry Kane. He's joined on a season-long loan from Tottenham.
With Harry, it came about because of my connections at Tottenham, now being the Norwich manager, looking to bring in a centre forward. He was still developing. What he was certainly was a goal scorer. Good with both feet.
When you get any sort of young lad coming from big clubs, you actually think, one, they've definitely got ability, and how can you try and help them, and how can you try and, get them to settle into the squad, because we'd obviously known that, he could finish. There was no doubt about that. I think the biggest thing for us was we were all lads that had come up through the sort of lower leagues, and we were all together, and how we could try and produce on a Saturday. Really, that's what it was down to, because we knew how tough the sort of the Premier League was. But
the difficulty we had with Harry is that he got injured when he was with us. I mean, what we saw in him was somebody that could finish well with both feet. I mean, that was something that was evident. And what he would do, and probably other coaches would tell you exactly the same, is that after training every day. Every day he would have a bag of footballs, 2 bags of footballs, myself, one of the other coaches with him, and finishing sessions. And he would consistently find the corners, left foot, right foot. Those days, if you said to me that Harry would have become the celebrated player that he is, no, I wasn't sure. You know, because I say he was still developing at the time.
I think for Harry it was a really difficult time for him, that obviously which people have probably not recognised that with him, because everywhere he's went he's done really well internationally. Obviously he's doing it at Bayern Munich now, and what he's done at Spurs. So I think it's important that, you know, for any kid watching his journey or his story, that, you know, I think it was a really tough one for him. He was a great lad, but one of the things, I think he had like a one-on-one, a real big opportunity in one of the games, and he missed it. And I think when you're a young lad coming in and you're going on loan, like, those opportunities probably need to go for you, because you don't get so many. For us, it was a real eye-opener when we used to see him going out after training. To be honest with you, it was so refreshing to see a young lad with that drive, you know, that he wanted to be the best finisher. He wanted to keep on working at his game, even though his finishing was top quality. He was always working at that. Paul Trollope and the coaches there, Colin Calderwood, were amazing with him, you know, and always take him out, and he would do 30, 40 minutes, probably every day, really. And that was a real eye-opener for us, when you used to look out and think, you know, he's definitely got the right attitude, he just needs that break.
What was he like off the field?
Harry was a really nice guy. He was always down to earth, and, you know, just chilled really, in terms of, you know, coming for a big club, and people have a perception of, you know, what like they're going to be, or, you know, are they, you know, going to put the hard work in. But he done everything. I think the only thing that was really lacking was, you know, getting that opportunity to, you know, do what he does best, and that's score goals. I think that, yes, he probably learned from it, but it would have probably been a sort of a challenging time for him at that point.
Obviously the cleverness in his game as well. He's become a very intelligent footballer over the years, and his intelligence, of course, added to that the natural ability he's got to finish with both feet, and of course in the air. You know, he was only ever going to go one way. This was a young player that, however big his progress was going to be, this was a young player that you knew had great confidence in his own ability, and knew that he was on an upward trajectory. You know, how good and how big that was going to become, nobody would know, and certainly he wouldn't have known that. The mindset, absolutely, I saw in him, the confidence that I saw in him, the desire to want to play, the disappointment, you know, when he wasn't playing. But it's about putting it all together, and thankfully he was able to do that.
Transfer news from Leicester City now. They've signed Tottenham striker Harry Kane on loan until the end of the season.
What was his mentality like back then?
He was really good. One thing that surprised me, and I think a few of the lads would agree at Leicester at the time, I think we played an away game and we wasn't doing too well in the first half. You know, he ended up speaking up at half-time, which for a lone player at his age, quite rare, to be honest. And, you know, the lads obviously respected him more for it. It was a brave thing he did.
What kind of impact did he have on that team in that season?
He started off well, you know, he surprised a few of the lads, to be honest. Really good technically. It was more after that we've probably seen less of him on the pitch, but then, you know, started to get a bit more feel for his character as the time went on. After training, he was, you know, practicing his shooting non-stop. Seeing a young lad there, asking goalkeepers if they can stay out for him to practice his shooting, and if they couldn't, if he was too close to like a game day maybe, you know, he'd put a pole in the corner of the net and he'd be trying to hit the corner of the net. His finishing now, it's unbelievable. It has been for years. So, you know, the footprints you put in at the start of your career and stuff that set you off, which has done, definitely.
He's a bit part player for large periods of his spell at Leicester, so 15, 20-minute cameos. I think I even remember a period he came on at like right mid or like right of a front three, but no fuss from him. He just got on with it and he scored a couple of goals.
What was he like then when he walked into that dressing room at Leicester, and what kind of impact did he have?
He was quiet, very quiet. He worked in the background. He had the focus to know what he needed to do. He was a leader in a different type of way. You know, you get the screamer and the shouters. He was quite calm, quite calculated, but he was just an all-round good presence around the place. Nobody could ever say a bad word about him. I think lads always looked at him, even the senior boys, about his work rate, his dedication, his extras after training every single day.
You came through at Manchester United with lots of top young players. Yeah. Did you see similarities between him and and some of the lads that you come through with at United?
Oh yeah, for sure. If not similarities, probably Harry would have been, you know, a notch ahead as well. I mean, his career from then is kind of just grown and grown and grown. As a comparison from other strikers at my age at that time, he was second to none.
Were there any weaknesses in his game during that early time when you were with him at Leicester? Were there any areas that when you played with him later in his career you thought he's really, really improved in that particular area?
One thing that I think we noticed and he maybe picked up on himself at that time at Leicester was it tend to take quite a while to get his shot off. He liked to probably line his placement up a bit too precise, whereas now he gets the ball around the box and it's touch and shoot. I don't think the keeper has a chance to set himself.
And you played together later in your career for England. Did you speak about the Leicester days?
We probably had a few little bits of banter about it and stuff, and then obviously played against him quite a lot. He sent like everyone who he's played with during his England career off like shirts. It was a great thing to do.
So you got a shirt off him?
Yeah. I think I played maybe 4 or 5 games with him. I was in like 6 or 7 squads or something. I wasn't like a 50 cap player, so you know he's thought about everyone.
In your mind, did you ever think that either Jamie Vardy or Harry Kane would go on and play for England?
No, I think that sounds harsh. Out of the two, I probably would have said Harry with his work rate. That period, Vards was going through a little bit of a tough time. He's in and out of the team.
Tell us about the next time you played with him, the gap in between and the difference.
He started making waves in the Premier League with Tottenham, and he was just there or thereabouts in the England senior squad. In the summer, we went to Euros, the under-21 Euros, and obviously the squad gets announced. Harry Kane's in it, so that's already big news as it is. He's dropped down from the seniors. He was desperate to be a part of it. We didn't do well as a team in that Euros. We actually got knocked out in the groups. It wasn't successful for us at all. But I just remember my impressions. There's certain things in football that stick with you. And I just remember him coming back and I thought, like, he is a superstar. You could just tell there and then. He didn't need anything. He just literally needed some balls and a goal, and he was happy. Any young player wanting to make strides into the game should just try and get as much information about what Harry Kane did, and that'll give them the best chance.
Talk to us about the famous picture. It was the Watford game in the playoffs. 3 England internationals, Jamie Vardy, yourself, and Harry sat on the bench.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think it just shows how much it can change in football. I mean, looking back now, you'd probably think, like, what are them 3 doing on the bench in a championship game? Like, what's going on? But, you know, I think sometimes as a footballer, you look back and think, no, it's actually made me grow a bit. You know, it probably gave me a kick where I needed a kick. At the time, you're probably thinking, just get me on the pitch, what's going on? But, you know, hindsight's huge, as you know. But no, it's quite a cool photo to look back on.